Alright, so for this tutorial, we're going to call a bullet script that will get the player's position, and it will basically destroy itself. Now, the original thing that was on here, that can just go away. The original thing that was on here is we're going to check to see where the player position was, and that game object would transform to that player position. Or, I'm sorry, it would take the transform of the game object, and it would decide if the rigid body was going to go one speed or another. Now, he was really close on this. The only thing he would need to have done is that, and then this probably would have worked. So we're going to save this, and we're going to test it real quick. And if you hear my dogs, I apologize. They're little bastards. Alright, so let's go ahead and hit play, and we're going to test this out real quick. And we're going to make sure that... So the rigid body speed is set to 0. That's actually a problem. We need that to be set to something like 0.1. Oh, these dogs are annoying. Alright, so now he should shoot something. Alright, so let's go ahead and try to change this to negative 0.1. So it is not coming up with anything, but that is okay. The other thing I noticed is that this wasn't coming up either. What is with y'all and doing all this spacing? It's like a noob thing, I swear it is. So we could just simply get the player health within this script. Or actually, no, wait, never mind. My head's somewhere where it shouldn't be. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to do a distance. We're going to say float distance, and that will equal vector2 dot distance, and we're going to get the game object dot transform dot position, and we're going to get the player pos, and that'll be it. So is what we're going to do is we're going to do a distance, and we're going to say, honestly we don't even need this, we're going to say if distance is less than, let's just say 0.1f, then we will destroy the game object. So this is actually going to be really useful because it won't matter what side the player is on. At least it shouldn't. So we'll hit play. We should see him shooting. Okay, so he's shooting, but I'm not seeing the bullet clone. So let's go ahead and fix this bullet clone real quick. That means I need to check this prefab out. Where are you? Prefabs. Here we go. So we're going to go into... It's not called button, is it? No, it's actually called bullet. Why am I not seeing bullet? Bullet. So the first thing we want to do with this wonderful prefab is we want to change it from default to sprites, because that's what it is. And also it's missing a sprite. Ah, Neil, you never uploaded it. Are you still on? No, you have already gone to bed. Bad Neil, bad Neil. Okay, so we're going to make this sprite real quick. I'm going to go to File, New, and I'm going to say 128, you bastard. 128, 128, create. Hey, that rhymed. And so is what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, let's see, his looked like kiwi fruit. Like, it legitimately looked like kiwi fruit. So, can you guess what I'm going to do? You guessed it. I'm going to take an image of kiwi fruit, and that is going to be the enemy's blast. Where's a good image of kiwi fruit? Okay, you know what? That one works. I wonder how many of y'all are watching this wondering, is he actually serious? Is he really going to use kiwi fruit? The answer to that is yes, I am. And I will show you why. So we're just going to drag that up into here, insert new layer, and that is a bit large, so I'm going to scale it down. I'm sure now if someone's watching this little tutorial about making this game and everything, they're probably like, I cannot believe he's actually using kiwi fruit. I wasn't lying. So is what we're going to do is we're going to start setting this item up. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to keep this on black. Let's just start tracing around, give it some edges and whatnot. So this is going to be our primary shape. We're going to go to green, or actually I'm just going to select this green, and I'm going to paint in right here, just right on the edge. What about that edge down there, Jimmy? Yeah, I need to get that too. I haven't forgotten about it. Alright, so now we have our kiwi fruit. I'm now going to create a new layer. I'm actually going to lower the opacity on this one. I'm going to set this to, not 2, I'm going to set to 2, or not 1 I mean. And the purpose of this is we can actually like come through here and give this a sharper edge. Or not a sharper edge, but we can give it a more decent edge. And as far as the kiwi fruit, this is just kind of like a placeholder, if you will. Alright, there we go. And so now I can turn that layer off. I can click back on this one, and let's go ahead and start erasing some of this green that is protruding outwards. Just going to go through here real quick and get rid of it. I bet when Neil wakes up, he sees that, he's probably just going to laugh. It's going to be like, dude actually used a kiwi fruit. Alright, there we go. So now is what I need to do. So I'm actually going to increase this to something like 20. I'm just going to paint in here real quick. And it'll make sense here in just a second what I am doing. I know I'm going outside the lines on some of these, but I can always just erase them. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and click on the eraser tool. I'm just going to erase some of these little outside protrusions real quick, and that should be it. Oh, I missed a spot. Set this to 5. Get that in there. Okay, so now I can actually lower the opacity on this, and I can actually start going to slightly wider areas. I'm going to set the size to say, I don't know, 40. Just going to paint this in here real quick, and then I'm going to go to a lighter tone, paint in here. So now is what we have is we have this, and is what I want to do now is I'm actually going to add in. Okay, that was my dog. I'm actually going to come in here, do a 1. I'm just going to add some little black seeds, if you will. Oh, come on. Now, I know I'm not lining these up exactly, and I'm not too terribly worried about that. Is what I'm more worried about is just making sure that it's kind of close. And so right here, I'm actually going to go with a lighter color, and I'm going to go back to this tool, but I'm going to set this to 20. I'm just going to paint this in here real quick. I'm then going to set this to 5, and I'm just going to come into my line tool. Okay, so I'm going to lower the opacity on that. There we go, that looks good. I'm just going to kind of like come in here and throw some lines in real quickly. Nothing too fancy. Alright, there we go. And so now when we look at this, this is kind of what we're at. So now is what I want to do is watch my dogs run off like a bunch of idiots. Is what I want to do is I actually want to add a red tone in here. This will kind of like guide the player. Well, not guide the player, but this will alert the player that, hey, this is a hazard. You may want to stay back from this or avoid it somehow. So we're just going to add a little bit of red, and the more center we get, the more red we'll have. In fact, I'm actually going to lower this a little bit more. I'm going to come here on the outside of this real quick. In fact, I can turn off the Kiwi image in the background. And so now what I want to do is I want to add some yellow tones as well. There we go. And so now we are left with this little item. Now, how can we really give emphasis to this? Well, what we can do is we can actually add another layer. I'm actually going to go red. I'm going to go to my pencil tool. I'm going to make sure this is at 1. And those lines that we created earlier is what we can do is we can actually move off of these. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so that will work. So I'm actually going to just get this right on the edge on each one of these, like so. I don't like that one as much. It's a little bit off on the edge. Well, it's okay to be a little bit off, but if it's something that you can clearly see it, that's something that you're probably going to want to fix. Now this one's interesting because this one actually comes together as 2, so I'm actually going to start the line off right here. There we go. And now we can actually add a yellow in there as well. Now this yellow is going to be interesting because I'm actually going to do the brush. I'm going to set this back to 5, and I'm just going to crank the opacity up to something like 60 or 70%. I'm just going to go over this real quickly. So all I'm doing right here is just adding onto the lines, giving it a little extra oomph, if you will. Alright, there we go. There is our enemy bullet, the kiwi fruit. Neil, you brought this on yourself. Okay, so this is going to do it for that. Let's go into sprites. We'll go and do Mist Sprite. This will be enemy bullet. We'll save. And I need to turn this into a PNG. So we will do that real, not a PPM, PNG, you little bastard. There we go. And we will now come into Unity. And with this bullet selected, let's go into sprites, and that was in the Mist Sprites, which I need to set this to default 2D UI. Let's see, Mist Sprites. We'll just drag the kiwi on there. Let's go ahead and test this out and make sure it is working. So he should instantly shoot. Okay, and there we go. So we saw that once it gets to its position, it automatically destroys itself. So that is how you want to do that. Run. Okay, so that is fixed. Let's see. Since all that is done, yeah, so since all this is done, we actually want to also probably create a particle effect for whenever it does hit. We can do that later. No biggie. Dogs, I do not like what y'all are doing. Y'all are making me nervous. So, I'm actually going to put in swirly brackets in here. This will indicate to the other designers that, hey, we need some kind of particle system. And then up here, I'm actually going to do a different particle system. Different particle system when destroyed from no collision impact. Alright, so that is all done. I'm actually going to take all this crap in here. We're going to go to the, not the shooter script, we actually want to go to the splash script. So, let me locate that real quick. Oh, come on, Unity. You bastard. Okay, there we go. So we're going to open up the splash script, and we're going to slap all of that in there. Like so. And there we are. So, the only difference between the splash and the regular bullet won't have splash damage, whereas this one will. So we're not only going to need to create a particle system when destroyed, but we'll also need to create new sprite for splash damage area. And that's actually going to be really important. We'll figure out that later on. So right here is what I'm looking at, is if it gets to where the player was at and it explodes, will it just explode in the air, or are we going to want it where it actually hits the ground? I kind of like the idea of exploding in the air, because that's like, hey, I just shot a missile. This is where the player was. Explode right here. Hopefully the player's still there. So we're going to do that right there. So yeah, there you go. Easy. A lot easier now that I'm awake. And that should cover both creating a sprite for the splash bullet, or for the regular bullet, as well as fixing the code. So until next time, I'll see y'all later.